Thank you, Rose. I'm so happy to be here with you, and I can't wait to dialogue.
Yeah, sure. So you're based in Costa Rica, is that right?
Yes, that's where I am. San Jose, Costa Rica. That's where our headquarters are.
Oh, whereabouts in Costa Rica are you?
We are in Romosor, San Jose. It's basically a beautiful neighborhood where we have our offices. We have barista school, the roaster, farm to table restaurant, coffee shop. We won one of the top coffee shops in North Central America and the Caribbean. And we also have the offices of the foundation that we've created and support called Fútbol por Mi País, where we help young boys and girls from marginalized communities with values and life skills through soccer.
Great, great. So what are you working on at the moment? Like how long has Buena Vida Specialty Coffee been around for, and what's the story behind it?
So Buena Vida has been, I'm so sorry. Buena Vida has been around for, I would say it has two different points in time. It started almost 6 years ago. But when we started as an organic, certified only coffee. And with time, we discovered that regenerative agriculture is extremely important.
Okay.
And we pivoted into
Oh,
regenerative agriculture. And the farms that we certified were regenerative and not necessarily organic.
okay.
And
What's the difference between regenerative and organic? Is that like one extra notch, one extra, measure above organic or
so it's interesting that you asked that, Rose. So when you're talking about organic, it has one meaning. It means no agrochemicals. But when you speak about regenerative, it doesn't mean it's organic and doesn't have agrochemicals, but it does mean that you grow in harmony with nature. It does mean that you are lowering the amount of inputs, both organic and non organic. It means that you are consciously working with nature and not against it. The best combo, of course, is regenerative and organic. You
oh,
want to make sure,
yeah.
yes, you want to make sure that not only that you're not using agrochemicals, but you're constantly improving and regenerating everything around you, and that your farm works in harmony with nature. And it's not an easy journey for farmers. There's a lot of greenwashing about what it is and what it's not. There's no world definition for regenerative. There is nothing that, organics is very simple. It's no agrochemicals. There's no exception. That is the definition. So it doesn't matter what country you're, it doesn't matter what you're growing, what crop. It's a very simple definition. No agrochemicals.
Okay.
Regenerative is a lot more complex.
Is it,
And
how is
there
it
is
measured? Is it a new term that's being tossed around, or did you guys kind of get into it,
so
or
So it's an incredibly old term. Regenerative is actually indigenous. Regenerative is something that started since the beginning of times.
okay?
Um, there is no definition that exists today as a world adapted definition, but there's definitely ways of measuring it. And I think that the biggest debate right now around the world is everybody's using regenerative as like the new greenwashing, marketing word, but most times they don't even understand what it is, and they're definitely not measuring it.
Mm,
One of the interesting things about regenerative is it kind of caught into being a big marketing word. So now you have regenerative agriculture, regenerative travel, regenerative economics, regenerative, everything now is regenerative. And in reality, almost none of it is. And I
mm,
think the biggest challenge for companies like ours that truly
okay.
does regenerative agriculture and measures, verifies, and certifies everything is how do you teach consumers and different companies and everybody around you that you are creating an ecosystem that's traceable and deep, as opposed to all the words that are being thrown around.
Okay, so let me back up one minute. Because coffee is kind of like a big deal these days. That would be an understatement, huge, huge understatement. So how do like you guys at Buena Vida Specialty Coffee measure regenerative farming? How do you guys do it?
So we measure it various different ways. We work with different certification agencies and we take the best of each to understand what we're measuring and how we're measuring. We work with PhDs in soil that help interpret it. We work with agronomic advisors, like, our advisor is Todd Vincent, and he's a regenerative organic certified farmer that have
Mm,
done this for a long time and really understands not only how to measure and verify it, but also how to continuously make improvements.
mhm.
Because one of the most important things about regenerative is it's not a one point in time, it's a forever evolving process where there really is no end to it. Because you are regenerating, you're continuously improving. And the most important thing to measure is that continuous improvement. So if you
Okay,
measure today, next year you should be doing better, and the following year, even better.
true. What are some points at which you measure that? Is it like does it have anything to do with like I don't know the happiness of the farmers or what are the points that you guys use? Just if you
I,
guys
I,
have
I love
to
I
share.
love that I love that question. The first thing we measure is soil, the health of the soil. Because when you measure the health of the soil, it's very scientific what comes out. The test will tell you how much microorganisms you have. And if somebody knows how to interpret it really well, we work very closely with Elizabeth Haney. She's a PhD in soil. She's very famous because her and her husband created the Haney test, which is one of the most widely used tests for soil. And when you talk to Elizabeth and she interprets the soil results, then you learn that it's not just about how many microorganisms you have, but how many are active, how many are sleeping, how many are on holiday. Are you blocking nutrients? There's just so many layers when you're looking at soil that the nice thing is like you can fudge it and soil doesn't lie. So she doesn't even measure for agrochemicals because the soil will tell her,
Right.
are there agrochemicals in the soil? The other thing we measure is cover crops, etc. But then there's another side that depends on the certification agency you work with. You're going to measure farmer prosperity or not. You're going to measure living wage. You're going to measure other things that will indicate the health of economic health and sustainability of the farmer and their workers. So each company does something different. We're working very closely now with Region Agri, and we are not only measuring three different pillars, but we're also trying to evolve together what else can be measured and how else can we push that envelope to understand the entire picture. Because regenerative agriculture is really interesting. It's one of the only ways that you're measuring everything and nothing is independent. If you're going to regenerate soil, you're going to regenerate a whole ecosystem. And if your farmers are not prosperous, then it doesn't matter that the farm is regenerative. The ecosystem isn't.
True,
So you
true.
can't just pluck things away to your
Yeah.
convenience.
So like the farmers are like a key component of the coffee farming ecosystem.
100%. I mean, Rose, think about it. Today, over 80% of farmers live on the poverty line or below. It's been going on for years. It's nothing new. 90% of our soils are degraded. There's no second, third, fourth generation farmers to inherit the farms because it's such a money losing proposition that many want to go study other things that will hopefully leave them prosperous. It's so much easier for many farmers to abandon the trade and sell their land for real estate. Or today, when we were at a farm, we drove by what used to be an incredible farm and it's completely abandoned and for sale because it takes a lot of time and money to farm. And unfortunately, because of the poor pay that there is in coffee farming, many just are forced to abandon. So many farmers are mired in debt. Today was a hard day. We've spoken to a lot of farmers, and you see the reality every day, you know?
So, are there any like advantages that, people with like special farming machines have? And if so, what are some of the, upsides and any possible downsides of those coffee farming machines or technology?
When you do specialty coffee, you can't really do machinery. It's really a lot of, you know, you have to handpick your beans. You have to really invest in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there, you have to measure what you do. You have to measure organic and non-organic inputs. You have to really measure how much of it penetrates the soil. What do you really need? Um, how are you going to apply, your fertilization and compost? And there's just so many components, and it's a very, very complex system. Agriculture is not something easy. We're not producing widgets. We're, living with living soil and living trees. And um, today there's a huge shortage in labor. It's very, very hard to find coffee pickers.
How long is the
So
process for, you know, between a, between coffee bean being planted to it being ready to be put out into the market?
so it depends on the variety of the coffee. The majority of varieties, it will take 3 years from the moment you plant until you can pick the first harvest. Today in La Lajas farm, where we spent today, they planted a beautiful variety and they're already able to harvest after a year.
Okay.
So that's more rare, but the majority of the cases is 3 years.
That's a long time. That is a very, very long time. Yeah, what's the most like effort intensive or energy intensive part of that?
The most expensive part of that is that, at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
there's never a day off. Farming never has a day off. Um, you gotta take care of the farm until harvest. Then you gotta pick. Then you gotta process. Then you have to go through the entire process until it's ready to be sold. And then you have to deal with the selling. And then you have to deal with collecting the money. And while you're doing all that, you already have to start harvesting for the next cycle. So you really don't get a day off as a farmer. Um, like I said before, engaging pickers and hiring pickers, it has been every year harder and harder. The majority of pickers are immigrants. They're not really from the country that they're picking at, especially for Panama and Costa Rica. Colombia and the rest of Central America are a little different. Brazil is different, but for us in Costa Rica and Panama, um, especially Costa Rica, it's migrants. Panama is more locals because they in Costa Rica and Panama, most of the pickers are indigenous and
Mm.
they do come from Panama. So I guess they're native to Panama.
So is coffee farming like the most lucrative uh business in like most Latin American countries?
Not at all. Not at all. Like I said, over 80% of farmers live on the poverty line or below. And we were living in a coffee industry where the buyers do not want to pay what they should pay for coffee. And they know that really well. They know that they're making a lot of money and the farmers can't make that money.
So it's the I'm sorry, I think I missed that, but it's the coffee companies that are making the most of the money or the
The majority of the big buyers and companies around the world make a lot of money, but it's not translating to paying farmers more.
is the coffee different between like the, like the major companies, I don't know, like Starbucks or there's, tons out there. Like there's, Pete's, there's Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, there's Tim Hortons. Are the coffee beans itself themselves different between the ones that are made, ethically
Well,
versus not?
you basically have almost three coffee industries. One is mass market, cheap beans that are overly roasted, almost burnt. Then you have one that's almost like higher end and still mass market and still burnt beans, but there's a tendency. Do you hear the noise in the background?
Just just a tad might be my AC going on actually.
Uh,
Yeah, I can switch it off really quickly.
Noise.
Sure.
So the second category is coffee that is
Mm-hmm.
still not good quality, overly roasted for a little bit of a higher market. And
Mm-hmm.
those two markets make up almost 90% of the whole coffee world. And that's where farmers really don't get paid what they should get paid. Then the top 10% of the market is divided into much better coffee, but still the majority of that is still not great coffee, and still farmers are not being paid a lot. And then I'd say, and I think I'm being generous, there must be 3% of coffee that is high end coffee, and the farmers get paid well for it.
Okay.
So as you can see, you're talking about like 95, 97% of coffee where it's not good quality and farmers don't get paid nearly enough for it.
What's like the wage difference?
What is
But
what different?
the wage difference between like coffee farmers that farm for like the major coffee companies versus for the more high-end coffee.
The high end coffee is very small quantities.
Mm-hmm.
So a farmer that processes very high end coffee, they will not have a lot of it. Definitely not enough to give it, you know, to the biggest companies.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, the majority of coffee that's mass produced is very low quality.
I see. But like I'm kind of interested in how you got into this, Gally. Like, I know you have an investment banking background. How in the world did you end up in coffee farming? I mean, in like,
Yeah.
specialty coffee.
And coffee farming. I think
Yes.
it's two in one. Um, we opened restaurants in 2008 in New York, in the Hamptons, New York,
Mm-hmm.
Italian restaurants, and we served a coffee. And we didn't know anything about coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a friend who knew a lot about coffee and said that our coffee wasn't good. And because I live in Costa Rica, my partner decided that why don't I go look for coffee? And I went to look for organic coffee.
So it
And
started out by you guys opening a restaurant and having a customer telling you that the coffee wasn't good.
yes, I mean,
Oh,
it really was
hmm.
a deep dive into the coffee world overnight,
Okay.
about 6 years ago. So the restaurants existed in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
but all that time we didn't know anything about coffee. And when we found out, we decided that something's got to change
Okay.
drastically.
Uh-huh.
And when I went to look for organic coffee, to my dismay, I realized that there's less than 1% organic anything.
Oh.
And then I found out more about about organic agriculture and their regenerative agriculture, and then farmer prosperity. And before you know it, you understand that it's a
Mhm.
broken industry and
Oh.
not a very good one.
I can only
And
imagine like the amount of like burden that you felt when you found out about that because I mean, you can't be responsible for the entire coffee industry, let alone like for one country. So, um, yeah. So what does your coffee taste like?
So our coffees are considered between the top 1 and 3% of world coffee. It's very high quality. We work very closely with the farms that we source from. We work with them on many different aspects,
Oh,
not as a buyer, but almost, I always say like a partner, but in a great way. We help them from restructuring bank loans to the agronomy to just general things that they need, understanding their pain points, trying to measure and solve for them, and also uniting them. Because one of the things that we've seen early on is that a lot of the cooperatives or a lot of the different companies that get farmers together, it's more for their own commercial benefit than for the farmer and soil well-being. So we wanted to change that system.
and how is that going for you guys so far for Buena Vida Specialty Coffee Company? Because
I
you guys
think
have locations all across like Costa Rica, and any other Latin countries you guys are in?
so. Our location is really in one place in Costa Rica, but we work with farmers all over Costa Rica. And we started working with farmers in Colombia and Panama. So our idea is to expand to different countries slowly, finding the right farmers that we want to work with, because it takes a lot of commitment to start changing a lot of things that you've done before that. We want you to change. We want you to work with more with harmony in nature and go regenerative organic and certified. The difference is that we don't come to the farmers and push to do that. It's a process where we take a lot of that risk. We help guide them and we walk the process together.
What is that like? Like, do you go in yourself to the farms and talk to the people, or like, what is that like? Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, I go a lot to the farms. I speak a lot to the farmers. It's a very close relationship with them. And also have an amazing team that does that. And like I said before, we work with advisors and people who are experts in their field. And they come and help the farmers, and we're always find ways to help them and not charge them for it.
You talk to them in Spanish.
Yeah.
Do any of them speak English at all? Just out of pure
Yes.
curiosity. Okay, okay,
No, many of them speak great English,
okay.
but still the conversations are deeply in Spanish. We are in Latin America, and it's kind of just fitting. So yeah, the communication is definitely in Spanish.
Mhm. Like, are you originally from Costa Rica yourself, or no?
No, I'm actually originally from Argentina, and I
Oh,
only moved to Costa Rica 16 years ago from Manhattan, New York.
got you, got you. So, I mean, are you based like purely out of Costa Rica, or do you like travel? Also, I was kind of taking a look at your website. I'm wondering, where are your beans sold?
So, yes, I'm based in Costa Rica, in San Jose. I travel too much,
Ah,
and our beans are sold all over Costa Rica, all over the US, and now also we started expanding into Europe.
wow. Okay, okay. Like, do you guys partner with like, I don't know, hotels or like restaurants, cafes?
So, mostly coffee shops, hotels, and also we partner with different roasters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we roast where we sell in many of those places.
Hey.
So it's all kinds of different partnerships with our customers. We really are very close to our customers. We want to make sure that because we are educators and because we are leaders in the space, we
Mm-hmm.
feel an obligation that not all the relationships have to be strictly commercial. They have to
True.
be relationships that are going to withstand with time and help the farmers for the long term,
Mhm.
and that we make sure they're not transactional, that they really are way beyond a relationship that's purely transactional. So, given that I'm very involved with the documentaries of Kiss the Ground, Common Ground, and Ground Swell, and of course, 6 inches of soil in the podcast for 6 inches of soil, we use those documentaries to teach, and we use those documentaries to educate, and bring people into the movement of the regenerative agriculture, of changing more and more acres into regenerative organic agriculture, educating them about what we measure, how we measure, what's the process. And we feel that that work is just as important as commercially selling beans.
So like those documentaries like Kiss the Ground, and the other ones that you mentioned, are those about coffee farming? Like only?
They are about regenerative agriculture.
Yes.
Uh, Kiss the Ground and Common Ground do not mention coffee. Ground Swell has a very short segment on coffee and the
Mhm.
importance of regenerative coffee. But I think it doesn't even touch the surface. I think that we
Mhm.
need to do a documentary purely on coffee. And
Mhm.
right now, we're actually going to do a documentary purely on coffee. The
Mhm.
same director and producer of the documentaries is doing a series of women in regeneration. It's going to
Mhm.
be a 10 chapter documentary, and one of the chapters will be on us and coffee.
That's excellent. Will it be out on Netflix?
We don't know what the distribution will be
Mhm.
yet. Right now, we just started the process. We're in the process of fundraising to start shooting the 10 chapters.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in parallel, we'll start negotiating for distribution.
Yeah, I mean like more, it's like that quote that says, never doubt that a group of committed citizens can make a difference. Perhaps it's the only thing that has. And this is just like that. Like you alone can't change the whole entire coffee industry, but God knows only like you can only, do your part and hope that it'll, catch on. So
Totally. And it takes a lot of people together doing it, like you said. So being on your podcast and enlightening and educating some people,
sure.
that will make a big difference. And then a lot of articles and a lot of, we screen the documentaries in universities. I give a lot of different talks in different places. And now in Climate Week, we're going to screen Ground Swell in Climate Week New York. We're going to screen it at Purdue University in November, and there was a screen this week in Las Vegas. There is another one in Atlanta. So every time that we can, we screen the documentaries and do a Q&A and do more engagement and more education.
That's great. That's so great. Like, I have like so much respect for, the people that are, on the front lines doing all of that work. Yeah. If is there anything that you would want to add to that as far as like where you want coffee farming to go um in the next for the rest of the 2026?
Like I said, I want more and more acres to be turned into regenerative and organic. I would like farmers to be prosperous so they don't abandon the trade.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
think that, I don't believe in an extraction model. And as long as you pay farmers below cost or very little, then
mm-hmm,
you're in an extractive model and that will have an end. And I think that I want to help secure the future of coffee. And in
mm-hmm,
2050, we're going to have 50% less coffee around the world. So
mm-hmm.
I would love to see that changes. And I would love to see more and more farmers committed to working in harmony with nature and doing everything they can so production doesn't decrease.
Right, especially with like, so many horrible things going on with like as far as natural disasters and climate change and all. I feel like, this will definitely be an important part of that. So I really hope that the movement keeps going strong.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you, Rose.
thank you so much for joining us today, Gali. And where can we find you and Buena Vida Specialty Coffee?
So on our website, www.buenavida.coffee. Also on Instagram, you can follow it at buenavida_specialty coffee. And see where we are. We're screening Ground Swell in New York City for Climate Week, and there'll be a great Q&A. Like I said, we'll be in San Francisco in September, and
Mhm.
follow our journey.
All right. Well, everyone go follow Gally Meyer and her journey with Buena Vida Coffee. Thank you so much for specialty coffee. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye now.
Thank you, Rose. Bye.